So the big story, the first phase of the Marathon 2021 Assembly elections are over. Bengal reported 79.79% voter turnout in the first phase, while Assam, the other state that began voting today, saw a 72.14% turnout. Voting for the first phase of elections in these two states began in the morning at 7 a.m. for 30 and 47 seats respectively. That is 30 for West Bengal, 47 for Assam. In Bengal, the Trinamool faces a test from the BJP, a test for its bid for a third straight term. In Assam, the BJP is hoping to win a second straight term with the Chief Minister Sarbananda Sonowal, the biggest name on the ballot today, who cast his vote from Dibrugarh. And the heartland of Assamese politics voted today, the Upper Assam districts, and it is said that whoever wins here will have an upper hand. But all eyes really in Assam are on the new regional alliances and whether they will cut into both the Congress and the BJP and its key ally, the AGP's votes. Polling booths opened at 7 a.m. Polling was extended by an hour due to the COVID pandemic. Results will be out on the 2nd of May. All right, let's special focus Bengal. It has been a day of releasing tit-for-tat leaked videos. Phase 1 of these elections has opened up a new war front between the BJP and the TMC, a tit-for-tat war of tapped phone conversations. But first, there was a sigh of relief at the end of the first phase of polling in Bengal, which saw only sporadic reports of clashes. As expected, the Trinamool and the BJP have traded barbs and allegations of flying aplenty today. All parties in the running, that's the TMC, the BJP and the Congress, are complaining of intimidatory tactics by opponents.
Democracy at work. Angry voters claiming a flaw in the EVMs that gave BJP the vote if you pressed TMC.
तो हम लोग का TMC में बटन दबाया 3 नंबर बटन तो उधर 2 नंबर में भाजपा का वीवीपैट में भाजपा का पर्ची दिखाई दिया.
A car vandalized, a driver thrashed, its passenger accused of harassing TMC poll agents. He is the youngest brother of Shubhendu Adhikari, Mamata Banerjee's rival at Nandigram, the big fight in phase 2 of the Bengal polls.
कौन सी पार्टी का?
और टीएमसी का पार्टी.
कौन था आप जानते हैं?
हाँ.
कौन था?
ब्लॉक प्रेसिडेंट राम गोविंद दास.
यही रहते हैं.
हाँ, 1 नंबर ब्लॉक का प्रेसिडेंट है.
Sporadic trouble like this erupted through the day, but outright violence capped by over 700 companies of central forces deployed in the 5 polling districts. Jungle Mahal, very, very special. 30 seats going to the polls today. In these 30 seats, in 2016, the Trinamool had won in as many as 26 seats. But in 2019, the BJP led in as many as 20. So this phase of elections, the first battleground, a direct confrontation between the Trinamool and the BJP.
The BJP candidate has gone there with his boys and he's kind of terrorizing people over there. The people who went to vote has fled from there.
289, 290 मिदनापुर टाउन का बूथ में कुछ तृणमूली जो हर साल ही गड़बड़ी करता है वो लोग का साथ झड़प हुआ है. खबर समाचार है, हम वापस लौट के जा रहे हैं उधर.
Phase 1 of the Bengal polls done and dusted. The countdown now to Nandigram and the rest of the 8 phase polls in the state. With Anurag Dwari in Kanthi, in Mednipur, Monideepa Banerjee, NDTV.
And like I said, it has been a day of releasing tit-for-tat leaked videos. Phase 1 seems to have opened up a new war front between the BJP, a war of tapped phone conversations. First, halfway through polling, the BJP played out a phone conversation in which Mamata Banerjee is allegedly asking a former party worker from Nandigram, who is now with the BJP, to return to the TMC. He declines. The BJP expose, obviously directed at embarrassing Mamata Banerjee. But then at the end of the day, the TMC hit back and hit back hard, releasing what they say is a tapped phone conversation allegedly between two BJP leaders, which they say blows the lid on the BJP EC nexus. The TMC says it has the BJP's Mukul Roy discussing ways to influence the EC in this audio clip. In this tape, a conversation can be heard between Shishir Bajoria and Mukul Roy, where Mukul Roy asks him to include in a list of items to be raised with the EC a very specific request on polling agents or booth agents of political parties. Now, booth agents of a party are those agents who sit inside polling booths on voting day, and they're usually residents of the booth area. On this tape then, Roy says the EC should be requested to pass administrative orders permitting any voter anywhere in Bengal to be a booth agent at any booth in the state. Mukul Roy can then be heard saying, if we don't get this done, the BJP will not be able to field agents in many booths. Then, this week, the EC passed an order allowing Bengal voters to be booth agents anywhere in the state, an order the TMC has objected to vociferously and has asked for this order to be rescinded. And the TMC is now saying there is a connection between the EC's order and this conversation. Remember, NDTV cannot verify the authenticity of these audio tapes. They are yet to be verified. But first, we have joining us on left, right and centre, we have Dr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi, Rajya Sabha MP from the Congress representing West Bengal, a spokesperson for the INC, constitutional lawyer, a Supreme Court lawyer. So, Mr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi, first, this taped conversation allegedly of two BJP leaders, what is the significance of that according to you? Does it damage the non-partisan position of the EC?
As you know, I am not in India for 2-3 days. I just saw the details on your channel and elsewhere. Obviously, subject to verification and truth. I am being very candid and as objective as possible. The TMC taped video of Mamata Banerjee is really an appeal to help you during elections. And I find nothing objectionable in that. I think if I telephone you to say, why don't you help me? It is nothing more or less than that. It's an attempt to try and get support, but there is nothing which I would say is a corrupt practice there.
Well, you're saying it's not illegal.
The second one, yes, not only illegal, I'm saying it's nothing which is serious in terms of immorality or error or irregularity. But the second tape you showed me does show three things. One, that the BJP knows that it has no grassroots people in each booth in the local areas. So you are in area X, you don't have support in the local area, so you can't have booth workers there. I am in area Y, again I don't have support there. So what you are doing is you are importing, transporting and transferring workers from one to the other. Two, they say this very clearly as if the EC is acting on their command or at least at their request. Three, they are very clear about the answers as to what will happen today and tomorrow. But fourth and most important, whatever is prophesied astrologically in that conversation comes true. And the EC has not done this normally or in other states before. So
but this isn't a normal year, Mr. Singhvi. You know, on the ground, several political parties have told the EC, this is what we've read reports of also, that many are finding it hard to find polling agents, right, who are registered in those areas, covered by the same polling station, because the number of polling stations have increased because of COVID.
You know very well the difference. You know very well the difference in context between a request. You know also very well, Sarah, if you check up and ask yourself the question, how many such requests by parties other than the BJP would be met with a yes by the EC with similar alacrity? Please ask yourself that question. This is request today, answer tomorrow or day after, implementation. Other parties would have to bang their head to get the smallest request. And we have been handling the EC and going to the EC very badly. I beg your pardon?
The EC's order for now only holds for Bengal.
Not only that, it comes in a context where there seems to be a clear, I'm not blaming the EC so much as the confidence with which the request is made. And obviously now, with the Chief Election Commissioner almost out of circulation in a few days, I think there is something which is unfortunate about a constitutional authority being taken for granted and indeed acting as prophesied.
All right, so you're saying connect the dots. All right, before last question before I let you go, what do you make of the PM's schedule and the itinerary in Bangladesh, it coinciding with the first phase of polling in West Bengal? Because today Mamata Banerjee has accused him of violating the Model Code of Conduct.
I would not go so far as saying that a Model Code of Conduct is violated. He is a constitutional authority. He has international obligations. He is the Prime Minister of the country. So possibly, technically, it can be said that the Model Code is not violated. But I would add something different. Clearly, it's a political move. Clearly, it is a selective and somewhat opportunistic move. Ask yourself the simple question. The Prime Minister or senior BJP leaders have visited in delegations or otherwise, or senior officials, the Bangladesh context many times before 2021. When and how and if ever anybody has thought of a particular temple, a particular community and a particular person, Mr. Thakur? Never. So to think of this and then to give speeches in that context is clearly a political move. It is in that sense very selective and election focused. But I mean, I wouldn't say, to be very fair and accurate, that would be a violation of the MCC.
So not a violation, but perhaps not very statesmanly. Thank you so much,
Yes.
Abhishek Manu Singhvi, for your time. Let's bring in our other panelists tonight. We have Suparna Moitra, spokesperson of the TMC, Geeta Bhatt, political analyst with pro-BJP, pro-RSS leanings, and Shikha Mukherjee, senior journalist, West Bengal based. But Geeta Bhatt, first to you, Mamata Banerjee, referring to those prayers in that temple in Orakandi. Coincidentally, it's important to the Matua community, a large number of whom are now residents of West Bengal and an important factor in these elections. Just a coincidence?
Well, Sarah, we all know that this was the 50th year celebration of the National Day of Bangladesh, and the Prime Minister has been invited as a chief guest in that function. It is just a coincidence that it so happened that even the West Bengal elections are taking, during the same time span. And the Prime Minister, he has visited wherever the places that he decided to visit. These are the symbols of, Indian culture and heritage. And so as an Indian Prime Minister, I mean, there is also a cultural connect. Being an Indian, and that is how he decided to visit those places. I think the way their political angle has been given, so this is something which is very unfair. And also, your conversation with Mr. Manu Singhvi, I was just hearing, the way there has been, the way he was saying that that only one political party opposed to the Election Commission is listened to, or even only their pleas are heard, is something like casting aspersions on the Election Commission. Election Commission has been very fair, and in all the elections, irrespective of which political party wins. It is not that in every election it is the BJP which has been winning. But why is it so that the voting, that there is a problem with the EVMs whenever there is a sense of insecurity in the opposition, that they are going to lose the elections. For example, the Chief Minister of West Bengal also, we see she has, the way she has, put an attack on the Prime Minister for visiting Bangladesh, saying that his visa should be cancelled, is something which is uncalled for.
No, because she raised that in the context of a Bangladeshi actor who had campaigned for the TMC and his visa was revoked. Just to give it a full perspective. But Geeta Bhatt, this tape leaked by the
this was an
BJP,
official
allegedly
visit
capturing Mamata Banerjee, coaxing Mr. Praloy Pal to return to the fold. It's really, at the most, it's embarrassing, but it's not illegal, right? The tape that the TMC has released, if authentic, and the TMC's allegations are right, if those allegations are true, then this conversation precedes the EC's announcement. Then that is a shocking and a damning one, and it badly hurts the non-partisan position of the EC.
Well, you see, these allegations and counter allegations, they do happen during elections, and most fairly is that there should be an authentication check. There should be a checking of these audio tapes, whether they
similarly the tape that the BJP released today.
It is similarly for both the tapes. For both the tapes, let there be a verification of the tapes, and based on that, the political parties can make a representation, and then EC can take a decision.
All right. So, Suparna Moitra, the TMC, has been putting on a brave front, saying that those leaving the party are driftwood, they're dead weight. This tape actually, proves and exposes that that's not really the case. It's not a case of them deserting a sinking ship.
Good evening to you, Ms. Jacob, and good evening to all my respected panelists. I think let's read the context. First of all, we were discussing about the Honorable Minister's visit to Bangladesh. And second, about the audio tapes which are in circulation. The authenticity is yet to be checked, but the first comment about the Bangladesh, the stated of the Trinamool always been.
Mr. Moitra, hold on a second. Can we just try and reconnect to Mr. Moitra and get a clearer line so our audience can hear what he's saying? Shikha, if we can get Shikha in. Shikha, your reaction as you heard Shikha Mukherjee, you heard Abhishek Manu Singhvi. He's saying this is the Prime Minister, and he has to make foreign trips. It's the first foreign trip he's made. He's been invited along with leaders from the neighborhood, from the subcontinent, and so he refuses to go as far as to say that this was, a political move aimed at this election.
I think I partly agree with Dr. Singhvi, but I don't entirely agree. And the reason is very simple. The Prime Minister is invited for the celebration of the 50th year of Bangladesh's liberation. And an occasion where India has played a stellar role. And therefore, it would have been appropriate, ethical, that the Prime Minister avoided any kind of controversy during this visit. I mean, there are trade talks going on. There are other issues which are also being discussed, which are state to state, which have no political connotations whatsoever. At this point in time, when an election is happening here, when the Matua community and their problem of citizenship, of who and how they will become citizens, Mamta is saying that you don't need to apply for citizenship. The BJP is saying, please apply and we will give you citizenship. And then there is this Amit Shah visit to the Matua Center in Ashoknagar in West Bengal. Prime Minister is going there. This whole business around the Matua vote, and all of us have been reporting on the Matua and the BJP and the TMC and whatever. So, it is rather unfortunate that the Prime Minister at this point in time, when we all know that the Matua issue is linked to CAA and NRC, an issue on which within Bangladesh there is a lot of tension and there have been a lot of protests, why would the Prime Minister choose to stir it up?
All right.
And the fact of the matter
it could have
is
been avoided.
that
All right. We have Mr.
Let me
Suparna
just give you
Moitra
half a minute, Sarah.
Go ahead.
And the fact is that, as a result of all this, what happens? There are protests. The government of Bangladesh is forced to take action. People die. You think that this visit leaves a very good taste in anybody's mouth after all this has happened? I don't think it is something that the Indian government would have afforded at this point in time with Bangladesh.
Certainly did mar the celebrations for Bangladesh, those
Absolutely.
deaths yesterday, those 4. All right, we have Suparna Moitra joining us, and sorry we had a poor line with you, but you were saying, just respond to the tape that the BJP has released, which they say is Mamta Banerjee trying to coax this TMC leader to return to the fold. that does expose the challenge that the TMC is facing in this election, even though you've been putting up a brave face?
Ms. Jacob, I do not know the authenticity of this tape, but argument's sake, if the tape is authentic. Now what is the conversation all about? The conversation is between the Trinamool Congress Supremo and the Chief Minister of West Bengal, who is trying to talk to someone who was discontented with the Trinamool Congress and has left the family. So the Trinamool Congress Supremo is trying to pacify him, making an appeal that why don't you revisit, why don't you relook at it. So this is the overall context, one. Just juxtaposing with what has happened with the Bharatiya Janata Party list of nominees, if you would say that, it has a lopsided presence of the turncoats from Trinamool Congress, the Congress and CPM, numbering 150. And argument's sake, we are not saying that, Ms. Jacob, but argument's sake, if BJP manages to win the election and if they form the government, what would be the government all about? It would be an assortment of legislators, of erstwhile disgruntlement and political rewards. So this is going to be the combination of the Bharatiya Janata Party.
Well, that would be ironic if it does happen and they do win, Mr. Moitra. But thank you all so much for joining us. What a day it's been, and imagine there are 7 more phases like this to go in West Bengal. So this is not the last debate we're having on this issue, but thank you for joining us tonight. That's it on Left, Right and Centre. Stay tuned. An exclusive interview coming up with Dr. Guleria of the All India Institute of Medical Sciences to answer all your questions, your concerns about the spread of the coronavirus in the second wave in India right now. Stay tuned. Bye-bye.